of peace you can find. Into the steeple of beautiful people where there's only one kind. So hush not, child.
Life, lessons, logistics. Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Storytelling Chronicles. I'm your host, the Bodacious Cowboy. Let's get this story started. Say what?
Look out! Pop, pop, it's showtime. 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 Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Gone tell. Oh, they don't know. Gone tell. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. Showed up. I'm wearing Cuban links. Yeah. Designer mix. Yeah. Inglewood's finest shoes. Whoop, whoop. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. Known to give the color red the blues. Woo, shit. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the rocket. Keep up.
Hello, everyone. I am the Bodacious Cowboy. It is Monday, February 5th, and we are on the Storytelling Chronicles. Let's get real with my good friends, the Lounge Lidgers. I'm going to bring them in right now. They're really good guys. I don't know if you've ever seen their show, but if you haven't, I would strongly recommend you do so. It's a lot of fun. Pedro and Hunter. Hey, buddies. How you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Well, doing good, man. Pulling a Jeff special here.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to bring mine out, but you know what? I'll wear it someplace sometime. But how you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining. I'm actually standing for the first time. I actually got a brand new stand-up desk over the weekend, put it together. I got tired of sitting on my ass. Not to say that I don't do anything all day long, but I need to get some exercise. And what better way than to stand up, do a podcast with my friends, and do work while I'm at it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I saw you make that post. I was jealous. I used to have a stand-up desk, but now I'm just kind of stuck in the sitting down all day, but definitely on the list.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So for those who don't know who Hunter is, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Hunter.
Yeah, so my name is Hunter Woodfin. I work here at Rain Dogs Logistics, been in the industry for about 7 years now. Realistically done about everything under the sun except for charter a plane, but that's always on the list. Got my start at one of the bigger companies, fell in love with drayage and obviously logistics as a whole. Did a little startup with my buddies out of Montreal. Did a startup at brokerage here in the U.S. Worked there for a few years, helped grow the company from the ground up. And from there, got an LLC, went and worked for a few different companies here and there. And today I'm glad to be with Rain Dogs, business development manager, still handling truckloads, Canada, U.S., Mexico, getting our assets on the road. And living the dream day by day.
Hey, I tell you what, and you're loving every single day, right?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. My biggest fear in life is becoming an accountant. And even though I'm not smart enough to become an accountant, good Lord, if that was my life, I would hate it.
Yeah, especially this time of year, right? With tax season.
Dude, I'm just not a bureaucrat. I can't sit there and do the same thing every day, crunching numbers. I'd go crazy.
I as well. Hey, Roberto, a.k.a. Pedro, tell everybody about yourself.
What's up, Jeff? What's up, man? My name is Robert Peterson. That's my government name, but as you can see, my moniker is Pedro Potato. I've been in this game, logistics thing, for 17 years now. Actually, January is my anniversary. So 17 years, man. I started out in the Army as a 88 Mike. Got out and got my CDL because of the military. Drove a truck for 10 years. Decided I wanted to get into the office side. Went to school in a truck and got my degree. Did the transportation logistics manager thing and fell into to brokering somewhere along the way. I'm really not quite sure how it fully happened. It just happened. And and now with my boy Mr. Hound down here, we do our own little dilly, the Logistics Lounge, and there's our first plug. We have like 15 more we're going to give. No, I'm playing. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah. And how did you guys meet? How did everything start with the Logistics Lounge?
So in about 10 years ago, Rob and I actually used to train quarter horses in Denver, Colorado.
Get
And
out.
yeah, man, it was an amazing thing. We had a few cup winners, and we just kind of got tired of it. So we decided to start the Logistics Lounge.
Dude, hey, in all transparency, the show Yellowstone is actually about Hunter and I. They just had to man it up a little more for primetime TV.
Bullshit. I love that story, but I ain't buying it.
Yeah, well, realistically, when I was working at Freight Mango, Rob and I really, we've been connected for probably 4 years. I forget whether I found him through Facebook or LinkedIn, but as you know, Rob, Mr. Pedro here, he is a marketing maniac. So there wasn't any page that I couldn't go to without seeing that man's name across the top. So, yeah, we had like chatted here and there, and just kind of been shooting the shit for a little while, and then July last year, I was just kind of doing my rounds, and I just reached out to him. I was like, "Hey, man, see you're working at Synergy. What's up? Do you guys handle any international work?" And he said no. And then we just kept chatting, and hopped on the phone. And 3 hours later,
you had a show.
We had a show, and he said, "Hey, I've been wanting to do this, and everything's kind of the same. It's stagnant. It's like a news channel, infomercial almost." And so yeah, kind of started from there. Same night, I was sitting at a Mexican restaurant and on Chat GPT coming up with names, and Logistics Lounge came across and popped from there. So
don't forget the lizards, though. Come on
now. Oh, dude, the lizards didn't come for a while, man. Shout out to Katie for the name. But yeah, we had our first show August 1st. I was 15 minutes late, and if you go back and watch it, you can see why we rock together. But
yes.
You guys definitely do rock together, because I've been on it a few times and I've watched it a few times. And you guys, you're very informative, but it's hilarious. Some of the stuff that you guys do is just like a lot of fun, man. And you talk to a lot of drivers, talk to a lot of brokers, IT people. Who the hell don't you talk to?
I think double brokers are the only people we haven't had on yet.
All right, well,
that's down the line, though. Watch out. We're about to have a double broker prank call segment coming here soon.
I like to see that. But you know what? Today's topic is right up you guys' alley. We talk about it a lot. I'll throw a plug in for the Broker Carrier Summit in Kansas City. That's coming up April 22nd through the 24th. It's going to be an unbelievable event, something that you've never attended in your life. Totally off. How can I say this? It's not your average type event that you would go to. You actually gain a hell of a lot of knowledge, and you walk away with something that you thought couldn't be possible. And there's so many relationships and partnerships and friendships that are built from it. It's crazy. So our topic today, guys, is broker carrier relations. And let's talk about broker relationships. Give me your thoughts on that when it comes to carriers and their perspective of what they think. Any one of you guys?
Well, on my side, I mean, I don't know. We're in such a messy market right now. It's hard to really build trust. I mean, but from both sides. I mean, there's a lot of dirty brokers out there that are, flaunting around. Oh yeah, I make this much. I make this much. In all reality, that's not the case. I mean, average market right now, you're getting 8 to 15% on any of your spot market freight, and so I don't know, man. Like, I know for carriers right now, or at least from my perspective as a broker, you saw this morning. I tagged you in that post, Jeff. Like, yep. You never know. Like, these people just come out of the woodwork, and it's taken a lot of time to really build a relationship with a good carrier. And even then, you're dealing with double brokers who are stealing MC numbers. They're going just out of their way, and it's inherently lazy because you can catch them in a heartbeat. But if you have someone that's tied into that, and then they do a good job for you, or it's I'm going in circles here, but I don't know. It's one of those things that you just kind of gets built with time. But Brokers are complaining about rates. Carriers are complaining about rates. Everybody's having a bad time, and everybody's pointing the gun at each other. So
that's true. That's true. And there's one thing. There's so many unethical brokers out there that they give really good brokers a bad name, and you always have to defend yourself. And I mean, just think of all the companies, and I'm not afraid to say it, from Echo to Steen to TQL to CH Robinson to Landstars. They're in there. They're just in there. And then when you make a phone call and you work for one of these brokerages, right? They automatically say, "Oh, you're with them? No, I'm sorry, we don't do business with them." And they won't even go into your background or anything. And you sit there and you defend yourself, and you're like, "Well, what's your problem? Have you ever done business with me, or you or whomever else? I've done my homework on you. Well, why don't you do some homework on the people that you do business with?" And it's a real damn shame. And I'll tell you what, if there's an unethical broker out there, I'm not afraid to throw them under the bus and run over them, hit the brakes, back up and smash them again. Not afraid. But if there's ethical brokers out there who are my friends, who are my competitors, I will go to the furthest extent to back them up, because I know how good they are. Listen, it's a $2 trillion business out there in logistics and moving freight all over the place. There's enough to go around for everybody out there. So why not, say good things about good brokers? It's not going to really affect you because there's so much work out there. What do you think about that, Pedro?
So first, I'll kind of work backwards on what you were saying. Sure. In a majority of times, I say, it's the few that mess it up for the many. And in the broker carrier situation, specifically the broker to the carrier, it's the many that has messed it up for the few. And what I mean by that is because it's all of these large companies who, have a larger part of the marketplace as far as brokers that have, gone about these underhanded practices and these ridiculous things hidden in rate cons and, flaunting ridiculous margins, that happen every so often, lying, misleading carriers, all the stuff that we know that they're have a reputation to be. And then it comes along the guys like myself, I've been a driver, I've been a shipper, I've done all that stuff. I understand it. My goal honestly is to be fair. I want you to make money, but I also need you to understand, carrier, that I need to make money, and my shipper needs to make money, because if they go out of business, I go out of business, you could go out of business, Right. But as far as how my relationships are with carriers, it's touch and go, man. I hate to say it, but there is very little loyalty on the carrier side. You can get mad as you want, but it is. I mean, they in this thing, we talk about it all the time. And from my point of view, the big part is the carriers. And I know the carriers will say the same thing and about what I'm about to say. And the reason is because it's a money thing. I had a carrier that was running a lane for me from Northern Ohio down to Arkansas, 60 miles away from where he lived. Dude ran it for me for like 4 months. Never an issue. I didn't even have to call him. I just sent the guy rate cons and he sent me BOLs. That's how great we had it. Yep. All of a sudden, 1 week, I send him a rate con and he emails back, says, "Hey, man, I can't do this lane no more. I found something, paying better." And, I asked him about it, and, it ended up, the other load paid him $300 more, but it also dumped him out 130 miles away from his house. And I was like, "Well, dude, you get that $300, but like you're just giving it up in fuel." And he's like, "Oh, well, it's lighter too." And I was like, "Okay, I get that." And so, I've had that happen a lot, man. They find something that pays better, they move on. Understandably, I get it, but I don't even get a chance to renegotiate, in those type of senses. And that kind of, kind of hurts things. So yeah, there's my first tidbit.
Oh, dude, I had a carrier reach out to me just this morning about a load, and I sent him my bid and I said, "What rate do you need?" And he said, "I don't know. I don't have this load. I don't know what the customer needs." And I said, "Okay, buddy, well, I'm paying $900 on this lane." And he's like, "Well, I didn't know that. And you're just playing games. You're wasting my time." And I was like, "All right, dude, let's just step back here." And he said, "Yeah, I don't even know about this anymore. Have a good day." I was like, "Bro, go get your coffee in, man. Like, this is not a terrible thing. Like, I'm just asking you what you need for your truck."
Right. I mean, they're the ones that are going to decide whether they want it or not, right? You're presenting it to them. They don't have to. I mean, that's the problem in the industry right now. Everybody's still diving to the bottom. They're bottom feeders, and that's what's driving everything down. And you talk about loyalty, and I could not agree with you more because it's not there. It really isn't there because the first load that comes up that pays, like you said, $300, $400, $500 more, they're not going to be loyal to you because they need to keep their assets moving. They're going to jump. They're gonna hop like a flea, man. They're gonna just go right to that, and there's no loyalty whatsoever. And that's a thing that you have to drive home to the shippers as well.
Yes.
It's like when you go and you do negotiations and stuff like that, and that's why I like working from the inside out rather than from the outside in. And it's simple math. I know how much time is put into an RFP and the SG&A that backs that up, of what that logistics manager, traffic manager, supply chain manager has to do in order to get that carrier in-house. And I understand the pressures that come from above, from the CFO, CEO, and his boss that's saying, hey, you know what, you need to drive cost out. But there's so many other ways of doing it. And one of them is not diving to the bottom, because that's going to kick them in the ass later on down the road when their incumbent carriers, if they're a really big shipper that they've done business with for 2 years, and the traffic, logistics manager, supply chain manager get that pressure, he's going to go to his incumbent carriers. He's going to say, hey, listen, Bob, you know what? I hate to do this for you, but I got a lot of pressure, man. We got to come down 300 to 400. And it's a big shipper. Let's just say it's a big shipper. Dude, listen, do 100 of them, we're going to be losing like $300,000, or $30,000 a month. I can't do that. Well, I got my marching orders. I got to do that. So they'll go out and they'll get the cheapest guy in there. All of a sudden the market flips, right? And it starts getting hotter. And the guy's like, oh man, I got to go back to my incumbent carriers. Goes back to the incumbent carriers and says, hey, Bob, listen, I'm sorry I had to do what I had to do, but I'd love to get you back in the mix. You know what I would do if I was Bob?
Ask for $400 more than I was getting last time.
Well, first of all, I would tell them to go F themselves, number one, because, where were you when I needed you, but you need me now, and you want me to do this for you after you screwed me and almost lost my house and my assets and everything? Hey, listen, those are the things that you have to make those decisions on there. And that's the thing that you have to educate the shipper on all the time, because what will happen is they got to reinvent the wheel, have to do the RFP again. They have to start spending all this time, reinventing the wheel and going out to carriers. And it costs money. It costs a lot of money. So what they're thinking they're saving in the front end, they're spending it in the back room for sure. And it's a terrible thing. So shippers have a lot to do with it. Carriers have a lot to it, and especially brokers, because brokers are trying to maximize their profits. A lot of them have to do profits before service. And they're not looking at the long term; they're looking at the short term. And how can I rake this guy over the coals as fast as I can and make whatever I can? I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, and that's what you get in transparent operational brokerage. At least that's the way I think. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you can go on, Pedro.
Okay, I agree, man. It is a race to the bottom, and price does have a lot to do with service. It just is the fact of the matter. People that provide good service, whether it be a carrier or a broker, or a freight forwarder, whatever the case is, they want to get paid well for their service. And we all have, expenses and employees and stuff like that to pay. And we all want to maximize, obviously, the profit that we're getting. And
Sure.
I will agree with you on the thing that the shippers have a much larger part to play in this than they think. I get it, even for these, even for a small shipper, but more so for some of the larger ones, like you were talking, $200 or $300 a load across the 500 to 1,000 loads that they may do a quarter. That accounts for a ton of money that they could be putting into some CEO's bonus. Because we are anyway. But it usually goes right back to what you're saying a lot of the time is is the shipper is, hey, this is what I'm paying now. They think that the market has swayed, and they say, hey, we're going to take advantage of this. They try to undercut or, get undercut their carriers or their brokers. We need to be less on this. It falls to someone else who, thinks that they're willing to do that work for that amount of money. And then they end up failing on it, because they're being cheap with the shipper, and then the broker has to be cheap with the carrier. Or if they go direct to the carrier, they get a crap carrier who comes right back to what I initially said. As soon as more money gets thrown on the table in front of them, they're going to kick rocks. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, my big thing with what I was saying is about them, the whole money thing is all I want, whether it be a carrier, or actually we're talking about carrier. So all I want from the carrier, if it's a money thing, hey, you find someone paying you more, give me a chance to negotiate with you or for you. You know what I mean? I may not have the $300 in the load now that you need, maybe I only have 150 of it, but maybe I can go to my customer and say, hey, I need another 300, and then I'll give you your 300 and I'll still make my 150, 200. You know what I mean? So that's my thing. And that right there, I guess, is a another trail we could actually. I'll stop. Hunter, you go. I'm not going to go off on something else. You had. I'm sorry.
Yeah, man. No, you're good. I mean, but we're talking about it as brokers and carriers, but when we're talking about shippers too, man. Shippers that have like 15 different brokers that they're just shooting a massive list out to, and they're just
waste the money
and driving the demand. Well, dude, like that's where the bad taste comes from in my mind. Like, you post something up and the customer won't even tell you a rate. And then you go back to them, you have a truck in hand. And they're like, oh, I need $300 less than this. So you go and you lose that carrier, and it's just a big funnel. Like it's messing it up for all of us. I mean, because somebody at the end of the day is going to take that cheap freight, and that's going to be kind of the norm. And we're seeing that. Like, but to your point, Jeff, like, you have to inform the shippers here. Like, hey, man, this is what we need. I can take care of you. Like, I think it's on both sides. But to Rob's point as well, carriers don't have any loyalty. Like, even good brokers out here that when the market's tough for us, like, we still try to do the best for our carriers. But, when the market inevitably does shift around and we're making a little bit more money, well, most of the time, those carriers are going to go and take it from somebody else because they're just out for a buck. I mean, we're all out for money, but that's not the biggest thing here. Like, it's how do we really solidify these relationships?
Yeah, that's a great question. And one of them is being honest and transparent and basically telling the shippers what they want to hear, number one, and number two, what they definitely don't want to hear. And that's how long-term business relationships are forged. When you're able to get to that point where you can justify the reason of telling them to go screw themselves because you're wasting a ton of money. And by having 15, 18 carriers, when did I tell you if I could dwindle that down, okay, and that I could put more money back into your bottom line. It's what I call, and I've been hunting for 30 years about it, it's called finding hidden bank opportunities that's buried in there in the internal operations of any shipper that's out there. The problem with brokers out there, and I've had this conversation with many others, is that once you devalue your value, you are done. And the reason is because if you go to the bottom on one time, you just open Pandora's box to tell that shipper, if I do it once, I'll do it again and again and again. You can't go down that path. It's detrimental to your business. And I've said this to a plethora of people that in your pipeline, all prospects are not good prospects. All clients are not good clients. All carriers are not all good carriers. I mean, and you have to be able to look at your ROI and the time that you spent doing hunting, farming, reaching out to these prospects, these shippers. You have to identify the reason why you're doing so in order to put more money back in your pocket, because you'll find out that you're working too hard for what you're earning. And that's not the right way to do things. You have to kind of flip that and make them understand that, listen, we're all in this together. We all have to make a profit. I'm not going back to you, Mr. Shipper, because I hate paying the $15 for your product in Walmart listen, I'll tell you what, you bring it down to $6, I'll buy it from you. It's the same thing about telling me to drop $300 off my charge. So I can't live. It's volume, it's leverage, it's understanding, it's having that knowledge. And it's a shame that people just don't take the time out to really look into whom they're doing business with and why.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because you spend a whole day, trying to book 2 loads for $25. That's just a waste of time. Like I have no problem with overbidding just to get, what I think is reasonable. It's nothing crazy, but to spend 6 hours to find some truck in there that I don't even know if they're good enough to do it. I mean, obviously we do our compliance checks and everything, but man, it's just a headache. And I'm not going to spend my time on that.
Yeah, no, it truly is. And the thing that you have to be cognizant of is that shippers will lie to carriers to save a buck. And here's a great example, and I know that firsthand. And then I called them up and I went to a shipper. I got on a plane and I went to with unannounced and I watched their operations just to call them out. Oh, how long does it take to load a truck? Oh, you should be in about 45, maybe an hour tops. And you go there and you see they're 2.5 hours later and anything because they're trying to get a good deal selling an hour to load a truck. It's actually 2.5 hours. Now you're getting into their HOS. They're 14 hours a day. It just starts building up. And that's a lot of money that's hidden there in the opportunities, and detention starts going and all this other kind of stuff. So what can you do to help out the shipper and the carrier to give them more time on the road, to move their assets in order for them to make more money and then put more money back in the shipper's pocket as well? And even if you're a broker, if you could understand that and try to figure out how can you help the shipper be more efficient with what they do, the day in and day out activities. And that's why I say, I think every broker out there, if they have a DC or warehouse operations that close proximity, to partner with them, not to do business with them, but to say, hey, listen, you know what? I want to be a better broker. I want my people to understand how shippers, from a shipper's point of view, what they do every day, day in and day out. I know they can't learn it in 1 or 2 days, but at least they'll have a better perspective on the operational mechanisms of logistics and how they turn and burn every single day. And I think it's a huge missing part of the industry that's overlooked, that should be really looked at. I think people will benefit a lot from that.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. But it's always getting that shipper's ears pried open, and from my experience, they're not going to listen the first time, but if you just stay with it and be honest with them, eventually they'll start to come around. So yeah, it roots from the shipper, and we just do the best we can. But yeah, having those hard conversations can go a long way. You're not going to lose them for being honest. You're not going to lose a customer for saying hey man, here's what's going on. Here's what I can do for you. I think it'll save you a lot of money. It'll save you a lot of time, a lot of efforts. And shoot, if they kick you to the curb, not a good customer.
No, but they'll respect you for it. At least most of them will, because, let's face it, probably 90-something% of brokers out there, I have the best rates, I got guarantees, and I get the capacity in hand. It's pretty much how they open it up. But what happens if you didn't talk about freight and talked about their business, that person, his background, where he used to work, his products, his company, what they do, where they do it, why they do it, when they do it, how they do it, and knew that before you even went in there? And it takes a lot of time, but by doing that, I feel strongly that now you got the upper hand. You're not going in there blind. You know something about that. So now you can say, listen, the way I open it up, and I hardly do any phone calls, and I say it plethora of times, but I don't have time to waste yours. Imagine saying that to a shipper. What do you mean I don't have time? Well, I'm not making this phone call to waste your time. I'm going to make it meaningful and thought-provoking, that hopefully you'll give me a call after we get done speaking. I won't take much time because I've been in your position. I understand it. I understand your niche and your product lines, all that, just an example. But I think it's a better way of attacking a prospect and even an existing customer that you have in your pipeline. Because remember, every single pipeline that's out there that has a good customer, that has inbound and outbound vendors, raw materials, DCs, warehouses, and what better than to have a recommendation or referral from a customer that you're knocking it out of the park. I mean, just think about that. You didn't even have to make a phone call. Just somebody saying, "Hey, you know what? Use Rob, use Hunter, man. These guys, they're knocking it out of the park. Look what they've done for me. They put $300,000 back in my pocket. They did what? And that's how those conversations take place, and they move with hardly any momentum on your part except what you've done for that customer.
So I want to say that we have officially turned the Storytelling Chronicles into the Storytelling Chronicle Lounge, because we just like in our group, we start out on one thing and it like goes to the complete opposite direction almost. I do want to say this because I love that we got on this thing about the shippers.
Yeah,
and we're talking about, or y'all have been talking about, the service and what can you offer, and and all of that's great. Everybody wants to say that and stuff, and as a broker, if you're a broker worth your salt, your ultimate goal really should be to help your customer, because just if you're my friend and you help me do a lot of things, like I'm going to go to you for a lot more things and help you as well. So you should want to do that. But I do want to say this, that the shippers, they have us all kind of bent over right now. Yeah. And we talk about a race to the bottom. Well, the thing is we're already starting at the bottom and then racing, and then you're having to try to race to the top with a customer. And here's what I mean by that is, customer shippers, they get calls umpteen times a day, a week, whatever it is. All these brokers, want to do business with them. And so everyone says the same thing for the most part. Hey, I got this, I can do that. I'm awake at 2:00 in the morning. I'll answer your phone during my wedding, whatever the case may be. Oh, I'll save you $50 a week, however they want to say it, and they're like, hey, that's great. But, Jeff told me the same thing 20 minutes ago. Hunter said the same thing yesterday. And so, like, they're like, hey, okay, which one of these people can I get all of this stuff that they're promising me for the best rate? Now, we could say that's them being cheap. I mean, I kind of look at it as me being a consumer. Like, I want to get the biggest bang for my buck. Sure. So my point is you could step in there and have everything going for you and say the right things and all this. And then a lot of the times it still is starting at the bottom and then having to work your way up to earn that trust where they say, hey, giving Jeff another $400 over Pedro is worth it because Jeff has shown his value to me. And I point this out because honestly, this has been the way it has. I deal with almost all of my customers I have now. Every one of them, I've started off there. Hey, so-and-so can get me a truck for this. Can you get it for that? And I have to take, little small margins and so forth and so on. And now it's to the point to where like all the stuff I move for them, they don't send it to anyone else. They just say, hey, Rob, get it done. Yeah. But I update them. Hey, if it's going to cost more, I say, if I can save them $100, I do. I've got one guy, I've saved him, I think like $600 a week on a lane coast to coast since we started doing it like 6 months ago. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But that's my thing is it's a struggle, man, to get those good rates, to be able as a broker, put good rates out there to the carriers to keep the carriers interested and invested in you as the broker, so you can continue to offer that service to the shipper. So it's a trickle down and a trickle up effect at the same time. I mean, and it really is kind of like a lock system. You know what I mean? You're filling up the shipper, and then the shipper fills you up, and then it's difficult, man. But all of that, I think, it plays in to the relationship stuff, because when it comes down to it, money talks and bullshit walks. It's all about money. It really is for all of us. And that is the huge driving factor in the relationship. And unfortunately, no one in this business is going to be open and transparent about what they make. Even a carrier, even though a carrier may say that they're losing money, they're not going to want to show me that, I mean, they may, So, and just carriers don't want or brokers don't want to do it to carriers. Shippers don't want to do it. So it's hard, man, to really form that relationship based on that little kind of system that we currently have in place of pitting against one against the other, coming down to a money thing, fighting against money. And then that is the thing we honestly got to figure out in the industry, is that how do we get everyone on an even kill for where the money should be at, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, what it comes down to, Rob, is do you want the short game play or the long-term play? That's what you have to. And, you know, everybody's saying, oh, second quarter, maybe the third quarter of this year, we're going to see the market flip. So what position are you in as a broker that's going to put you in position A when that market flips? Are you prepared? Have you thought about that? I mean, that's why it's like service before profits. If you're building that long-term business relationship, obviously you want to go in there for the long term, not the short term, because you're going to spend a lot of your time in the short term. And then if that doesn't work out, you're back to ground zero again. You have to start all over. But if you can put yourself in position A, so when that market does switch, you've knocked it out of them, you saved them maybe $1,000 a load. I've done that, you know, because I went with the market. I went with the contract. I kind of know what's happening out there on the data side of it. So I can do that kind of stuff. But is it leveraged? No, it's compliance with what the shipper wants. It's showing them that you are a true partner, that you want to go in there for the long run, that you're just not going in there to make a whole shitload of money and then you're gone and move on to the next guy. And that's kind of hard for brokers to do that, and carriers. You know, I mean, carriers look at their RO, you know, what is it? A lot of them, and one of my really good friends said, they're one breakdown away from bankruptcy. I mean, when you really think about that, it's true, right? I mean, these guys are pushing their PMs, their maintenance on their truck. I mean, you got one engine out there that's got a oil leak in it. Maybe it costs $450. You're like, don't worry about it. I can't do it right now. I'll just do a couple more. And next thing you know, the engine blows and you're about $65,000, you know, for a replacement. That's what's happening out there. I mean, think about putting a whole set of tires on your trailer and your power unit. How much is that going to set you back? You know, a lot of these guys are running a lot of ball tires as well. I mean, come on, you go down the highway and you look at tractor trailers. I always do. I always look at the names and stuff like that, where they're from, MC number, and you go by and you look at their tires. You're like, holy shit, I can't believe this guy's rolling with that stuff. And you can see that the trailer's riding low, so he's got a nice load on it. Just like, let's get by this baby as quick as possible, because this baby goes, it's going to go through my windshield, you know? But that's what we're seeing out there, right? I mean, you see that, don't you?
I do. And, you know, I just want to say, like, why aren't we all going after the tire people and the oil people? Like, I mean, I'm serious. Like, I mean, for real, like, maybe that's what we're doing. Maybe going after the insurance industry and all of them is the solution. Maybe if they cut their costs back, we know that'll never flip and happen. But
that would not do it. And with the theft that's increased over this past year, and inside theft, and I mean, all the fraud. We're going off the chain right now. That's for damn sure. But I'll tell you what, there's no way, you know, but we pay for it anyway. Right?
No, I know. I say it as a joke / serious, you know, because it's like, you know, it's everything is blame, you know. I mean, the carrier, the shipper, the broker, everyone blames each other for money, and it's like, dude, like, why are we arguing amongst each other for more money? Like, why don't we go after the people that are screwing us out of the money? The tire manufacturers, the truck manufacturers, the software people. Like, maybe that's what we need to do. Like, that's the ones that we have to get all this money for.
But guess what? You don't see their rates going down, do you?
Oh, no, absolutely not. You know,
because they're not going to devalue their value. They're going to charge you what they want, and you're going to go after it. You're going to buy it. They're in business, right? I mean, if nobody bought their stuff, they would be bankrupt or foreclosed.
I just want to say this. Even though the price of Oreos have gone up a bit, I don't feel that they taste any better. Like, I don't see where that additional cost was warranted. So either way, hey, we Jeff, if you don't mind, man, I kind of want to flip it since we
Yeah, go ahead.
Brokers for a minute
Yep.
and say that or talk as brokers to carriers. Brokers, like same thing goes for us, 1,000%, man. Like if you come into an agreement with a carrier, and it's always verbal. I mean, I've yet to sign anything with a carrier, you know what I mean, like on paper as far as an agreement. But if you make an agreement with them and they're doing a lane for you for $2,000 a week, and they are giving you good service, you have no issues, they're communicative, they just everything that you could want out of a carrier. And in some way, somehow you run across someone else that can do it cheaper. I mean, like why? I mean, in a way, I understand it because you want more money, but I mean, why would you want to even try to take that risk? I mean, is because the same thing can be said about that situation. I mean, is it always worth it for you to make another $100 versus sticking with who you built a relationship with? They know you know them. And like I said earlier about the carrier that I had, like you can just send them rate cons and not have to worry about it. You know what I mean? And so
that's my model.
I will say that, I mean, we all know it. A lot of brokers are very underhanded in the way that they do things. And I want to point this out. And it is not always on a personal level with the broker. It sometimes is the company that they work for.
Yeah,
I know some really, really great people that some really great brokers that want to do things the way that they want to, but they're not allowed to. Like certain things that are written in rate cons and certain deductions for this, or we can't do business with you if this is the situation. Like a lot of that stuff sometimes has to revolve around the company itself, and that's a sucky thing too. You know what I mean? So I want to say that it's not always the broker themselves that is being a butt face to you. Sometimes it's the large company that they work for, the organization they work for, that's making them do that. But that doesn't mean that you can't do whatever is in your power to try to be fair to your carrier and treat them with respect and understand that, hey, just like you want to make more money, they want to make more money too. And they've got a family, you got a family, we all got businesses that we have to support.
And I could not agree with you more. And that's pretty much my business model. All the carriers that work for me have been on well over a year, maybe even 2 years. I feed them annually, weekly, monthly. They know I'll have a load for them because all my stuff is dedicated stuff. And I take care of them. If they need something, I can justify it and go back to the shipper. I'm not afraid to say it and ask for that because I want them in my corral. I want them to trust me. I want to have that really good relationship. I want that long-term business relationship. So I'll do whatever I can, by going back and forth and being honest and truthful and transparent with my carriers as well as my shipper and saying, listen, it's not working out. My driver, my carrier is having a hard time. He needs to take $100, man. I need at least $150, man. He needs that. All right. And they're like, well, whatever. I says, well, look at this, look at that. Look what they've done. Look what I've done and reduced your cost. We're not asking for a ton. And then they give it to you and then you give it to the carrier and the carrier is really happy and they keep on moving. Will they ask me, hey, listen, can you do me a little bit? Sure. They go back and forth. I understand. It's just the same thing like we would do with our shippers and ask them for increase and stuff. That's why it's so imperative that you watch the market on the contract side as well as the spot market. I try to stay off the spot market, but you have to be cognizant of what's happening there and keeping your shippers, carriers, or even if you're a shipper, your brokers, because there's a lot of shippers out there real smart. They go to that, they'll go to Sonar, Carrier 911, they'll go to all these kind of stuff, and those are the guys that are running some really big operations that have a hefty transportation spend that wants to get ahead of the curve. And a lot of them know what they're doing and they try to fill voids. So when they go out to the market, they already know what they're willing to pay. So you have to justify your reason why you're going to move it for whatever price, because there's a lot of smart dudes out there, and women, I should say too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even in these markets, man, like We try. I mean, obviously we do everything we can, but when it comes to like carriers that we have been working with for a long time, not always trying to take a loss, but sometimes we'll run it at cost just to keep it
Sure.
in our circle, because obviously, like as you said, this is going to flip. Like things are gonna start to loosen up a little bit, and us as brokers, we're gonna have a little bit more power in our hand. But like that's where it comes. In these times, taking care of these drivers, these carriers. So like when things do go bad, they know that we're here to take care of them, and hopefully they stick with us. Hopefully, like our adjustments make sense in their mind. But yeah, I think just having conversations with them and sticking up for them, being their hero, being in their corner, it's gonna go on both sides. I mean,
Absolutely. Let's face it, guys. A cleansing is necessary, not just for brokers, but carriers as well. There's some that really shouldn't be in the business that came in to try to make a windfall. They don't know their ass from their elbow, just being honest. And it's just causing a lot of problems. And once we have that cleansing, and then we start backing each other up, like I said, this is a $2 trillion industry. We want to try to create best practices that's good for all good people that are in the business trying to do the right things. Why not share that experience? Why not share that knowledge base to help them go? There's so much money out there, for everybody to make a living. Try to help things out, and like, Carrier Validate and Carrier 911 and all these other guys, Carrier Shore. I mean, they're trying to vet these carriers to get them the hell out of the industry, to stop this double brokering and fraud and all that. It's a great thing. It really is. And they should bang their heads together and come up with a solution that works for everybody instead of what's best for them as a company. Just imagine all the smart people out there, if they got into one room and brainstorm and thought of these ideas where they could go to FMCSA and have a really good conversation that industry needs to change in order to make it better than what it is. Just think about the billions of dollars that would be saved on insurance and everything else like that. It's just those type of things that, people should think about and make happen, because I think it would be highly beneficial for the industry.
Yeah, that's a great point, man. Because over the lives we've had, I can't even tell you how many people that, like you said, have built a platform just to get rid of double brokering, and they all have such great things, and they're unique in their own ways. But have cats like them get in the same room, get people like old Joe Metten out there that's actually fighting with like the FBI and stuff. Like, get these people together and have them go there, like, because FMCSA is not going to do anything. Like we were just talking about it last Friday, that the people that run that aren't even in freight. It's mostly politicians, and it's all about, where's my money? You give me my money, you got yourself an MC number where you're not going to turn any heads, and then it's just going up the bureaucratic ladder, and that's not getting anything done. Like, that is just hurting us so much more, because everybody's bringing these problems to light, and the more we talk about these problems without doing anything, the smarter that these double brokers are going to get, and they're going to be light years ahead of us. When the solution gets created, they're already going to have thought about it, and they're going to have a way to get around it.
I agree. And I've had this conversation several months ago, and it was when the government, I hate bringing in politics, but it's a great segue to it. With all the problems of supply chain logistics out there, and when you get the government administration that's in there, that's bringing in a few heads every quarter, every month, to sit down and talk about the supply chain logistics, it's a waste of effing time. And I'll tell you why. Anybody that's been in the industry for a long time knows you have to have your finger on the pulse day in and day out. If you think you're going to bring these people in and have them sit down every month or quarter to figure out what's problem going on with the supply chain and logistics, they're out of their effing mind, because they have to have an administration that's there 24/7, 365, like all of us that are in this business, that sees the shit that's happening day in and day out. They have to see it to understand it before they start putting in all these policies that aren't worth shit, that tries to help everybody out there. And that's one of the biggest problems. I mean, there's so many highly intelligent people in supply chain and logistics out there, and I'm not counting myself as one, that they could go to and have them sit at an oak table, pay them a decent salary, a lot of freaking money, and I guarantee you that they would be able to solve a hell of a lot of problems that are happening out there on all modes, shippers, everything. I mean, just
and
it's
then
incredible what they could do.
Know what they're talking about. It's beyond the paycheck and the glory at that point. It's like, I love this industry and I want to fix it because it's gotten out of hand, man. Like, and you have people that don't understand it or don't care about it. Nothing's going to get done. There's going to be a bunch of bickering back and forth. And like you said, they're not going to be there 24/7 like we are. We're just dealing with the consequences.
That's why I laugh. I mean, seriously. I mean, I laugh because it's sad. It's really, really sad. And being in the industry over 40 years and seeing what's played out. Listen, the evolution of logistics and the tools that have come over the last 4 decades is outrageous. It's so good. But are we where we need to be right now? Hell no. And it's going to evolve even more than what we're seeing right now. We just don't even know what it looks like. And if I knew what it looked like 44 years ago, it's just incredible what we had and what we dealt with and what the tools that everybody else has right now that they're using. It's going to get developed and developed. That's why you have to gain that knowledge on a daily basis, because if you're not learning something new every single day, you're going to get lost, because that's how fast the industry is moving forward. I mean, and it's all good. It's all good, from IT to processes, to work instructions, to everything involved in logistics and supply chain. It's all going in the right direction. I can definitely tell you that.
Yeah. But, God, I feel like we're so behind the charts here, though. Like we're just like behind in the race. Because, think about during COVID time, that's the first time that I truly experienced like double brokers out in the open. And why is that? You have all these trucks sitting, all these companies sitting down. And it was just a time of like, dude, massive 3PL corporation. I could go on and on about them, but thank God they're shut down now. But that's when they had the time to learn, and they got infiltrated. They go out and buy 5,000 MC numbers and have one VPN underneath. It's the turn and burn. Like, see how far we can go with this. And like you said, I mean, as good as our technology is getting on our side of things, they have that too. AI, all like they see everything that everybody's doing and they can adapt to that. These guys have time, they're sitting over there in Armenia or wherever, even here in the US. Like
that's what it's like.
We need to continue the discussion, but I think it almost needs to get behind closed doors at some point, with a lot of these startups or these companies that are kind of developing into this, fraud prevention. Because eventually there's going to be a time where they're going to be able to get around that, even with the validation. You can just steal someone's identity, like have an ID that looks good enough, and we get all their stuff and boom, 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 type it in. Everything checks out. They got a little green check next to it. Next thing you know, my load's gone.
Yep, that's what the logistics and supply chain industry is all about. You have to have a chameleon type skin. You got to change colors, and you have to be able to adapt quickly in order to move forward as an individual, as a business, as a corporation. That they're not there. There's still a lot of progress that has to be made, and we're going to get there. I know for a fact. When I'm dead and gone, I can just imagine what the future looks like, and it's going to look really, really, really good. When you see what you never had, I mean, all the tools and everything, I always go back to that time when you had fax machines and telephones and just data that were on green bar paper. And that's what you fed off of and made critical decisions to move your company profitably. And we did it. And now you get all these tools that does all that shit for you. It's just amazing. And we're only touching the fingerprint of your finger. There's so much more to go way beyond that, and it's going to be incredible. But thanks, guys, for being here today, man. I love the conversation. Thanks for your input. For those who don't know about the Logistics Lounge, promote the hell out of it, because it's a great show. Tell everybody when you're on.
We are on, well, first of all, you can find us on LinkedIn, X, and YouTube at the Logistics Lounge. Our shows are Wednesday and Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Central, Fridays at 4 p.m. Central. Make sure that you go and just like and follow all our pages. Hunter and I do put in a lot of work to put out what we feel some great content that's a little different. Everything from news to memes to just what the hell ever. And we just appreciate all the love. And Jeff, I appreciate you and inviting us on, man. Hunter.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you for having us on, brother. It's been a good time. I hope we can come back on again. But yeah,
Absolutely.
Everybody go like, subscribe, check out the lounge. It's there's not any part of this industry that we don't touch on. So
Nope.
whether you're a carrier, broker, dispatcher, shipper, IT guy, what'd you say, Jeff?
Who are the guests that you're having on this week?
Let's see.
I will tell you right now. Let's see.
Come on, let's plug this thing. Go, let's go.
We forget, man. We forget. So,
all right. So we have
Ryan
Van
right?
Brocklin.
Oh my God, come on, load up. All right.
Yeah, we got Ryan Van Brocklin on with HD on Wednesday, 3:30. We have Ingrid Brown this Thursday at 3:30 as well. She's a woman in trucking. And then on Friday we have Janelle. So that starts at 4 p.m. Freestyle Friday. Jeff, I'm sure we'll see you in there. Maybe another show this week, but yeah.
Hey guys, so thank you so much for joining me on the Storytelling Chronicles. If you liked what you saw, please share, like, go to our website. It's on YouTube called the Bodacious Cowboy Podcast Channel. Hit that button, subscribe to it. We'd love to have you on board. New shows that are coming up. I'm working on something really, really special. I may not have a show this upcoming Monday because I'm working on it, but I can tell you it's going to be a lot different, and hopefully that it will be very empowering for a lot of people out there. So more to be known about that as we get closer to that launch date. But I appreciate it, guys. I hope everybody out there has a great week. Go out there, kill it, crush it, do whatever you need to do. We're here to help you out, and we'll see you next time. Appreciate it. Take care, guys.
Bye, brother.
Cheers, Jeff.
See ya.